Thanks for supporting the channel by clicking the links in the description box. And thank you so much for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And now let's get into this podversation. What's up, guys? We are going to have a conversation about this back and forth with Jamal Bryant and his, I guess now, we should call her an ex-girlfriend, Tanya Griffin. Now, she has been interviewed on a few different platforms. Several months ago, maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, she was interviewed on a YouTube channel. I believe her name is Alicia, and I put a link on my community board once where I put the video interview, so I'll put a link to that in the description box. And she was also just recently interviewed on All About the Tea channel, and she also called in to the Larry Reid live show, or maybe he called her. I don't really remember. I don't watch him too often, but she's spoken to a few different people, and she has a rapport now with Monique from the Real Housewives of Potomac. And this is why this is all out, because we all know Monique had her binder of receipts, and she revealed on the first part of the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion that the relationship that Giselle has with her ex-husband, now current boyfriend, Jamal Bryant, is not a real relationship, although this is what her storyline was supposed to be about. And Monique had her reasons for coming for Giselle, and now that sparked the back and forth of Jamal coming out with his so-called binder of receipts, and he was speaking about Monique and her husband, but a lot of the stuff that he was saying was directed at the woman who revealed information to Monique. And a lot of people just really didn't care, because they were like, well, what does this have to do with the relationship that you're supposed to be having with Giselle? Is it real or is it not? So that's what most people really wanted to know, not so much about this woman. But because this woman has already spoken out before, and he made it his, goal to really speak on this situation, and he never called her name, but he clearly was speaking about her, she said, okay, you're going to come for me. I'm going to come back for you. And so she did a whole live interview with this latest channel, and she revealed a lot. She showed some pictures of him in her bed, and she refuted a lot of the things that he said was not true when he did his so-called official read. Listen, I'm not on anybody's side when it comes to this situation, because I feel like there's a whole lot of mess involved, and somehow, some way, I believe, Monique will possibly profit from it, because I know that they've had fights on the Real Housewives shows before. And even with Portia, a lot of people were on Portia's side when it came to the physical altercation that she had with Kenya. But even with that, not saying that the way it happened was okay. I mean, Kenya was really antagonizing Portia on that reunion, and Portia, grabbed her hair and, pulled her down to the ground. This fight with Monique and Candace, I mean, she was literally banging her head into the table and just slapping her up in the back of her head. And they also have footage of her saying, well, if I'm done with the show, I'm going to go and finish her off. That makes her look like even more violent. Portia, she was showing remorse, even if it wasn't genuine. I don't know. I'm not saying that it was, but she was trying to show remorse, and they tried to move on from it, even though I feel like she and Kenya will never really be friends, even though they've made an attempt to do so, because they both have, in common that they both had a little girl. Since all of that has happened, they've both become parents. But the situation with Monique, I mean, it was just clearly wrong. And I've said that before, and I will continue to say that. Even though I said I understand when somebody is antagonizing you, you can picture yourself just wanting to shut somebody up. But if you're an adult and you have self-control, you just can't go there. You have to know how to remove yourself from a situation. And Monique, to this very moment, she still is not showing remorse with the situation with her and Candace. And I felt like that could possibly be, you know what, we need to just go ahead and let her go and not have this liability on the show repeatedly, or continuing to have her as, you know, a part of the show if she's going to be a liability. Well, now that this has become so much of a scandal and is continuing to be talked about, I believe that it's solidified her spot to be, you know, on the show. And I think some people who are just Team Monique, they didn't feel like she was in danger of being let go anyway. I kind of feel like she was. Especially from the second part of the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion. I felt like a lot of the questions that Andy was directing at her, I felt like it was him in some way trying to get her to fess up that, look, what I did was wrong, and she still hasn't apologized. And I felt like that was his way of letting her know, like, you are not really on our good side right now because of this. So I'm trying to give you some leeway to turn it around, to make yourself look more favorable. And she wasn't. She just wasn't. I don't believe she was on this second part of the reunion. The third one hasn't aired yet, so we shall see. But going back to Jamal Bryant's now ex-girlfriend, Tanya, the things that she's revealed, it doesn't make her look the best either, although she is very articulate, very bright, well-studied, well-educated. She clearly is an educated woman, but she says she's been seeing this man for on and off for 8 years, and they've been sleeping together, and they're both pastors. I don't know if she's the pastor of an actual church like Jamal Bryant is. I guess she isn't, but they're both in ministry. I know people like to give pastors a pass sometimes. They say, oh, well, they're human beings, they're just men or whatever. But if you really, really know the word of God, like that's some real stuff. And to be called, if he's called, I'm not saying he was, because sometimes people are in positions, they're not called, it's just a job. And I've said that before too with Jamal. I feel like this is just a job for him. It's not even what he really wants to do, being a pastor of a church. But I digress. I do believe that there is a higher standard when it comes to being in that position, and it comes with great sacrifices. And sometimes that means that sacrifice is sacrificing your sensual pleasure when you're not in a committed marriage, or, I'll even say relationship that's leading to marriage. He's been sleeping with this woman on and off for 8 years. Thankfully, she didn't have a baby, but he's been proven to have several babies with different women throughout the country. There's no discipline there. There's like no real discipline there. And so for him, when he did his live video where he talked about him being a single person, he never addressed the relationship with Giselle. He never said the things that she said is not true. Yeah, me and Giselle are in a relationship, or no, we're not. Like, he never addressed the situation, or the situationship, relationship, whatever you want to call it, with Giselle. He was really spewing, I felt like, vitriol for this woman because she revealed things to Monique, and he felt violated. So something must have happened beyond just the messages or the text messages where she confronted him about Giselle, and are you really in a relationship with Giselle? And she showed the screenshots of the text messages in this latest interview where he said, it's just for TV. Something else must have happened. I don't really know, and I don't even really need to know all of the details. But all of this back and forth with these two people who are supposed to be in ministry, I will say this. Clearly, Jamal has a preference. I'll just put it like that. This woman, and the pictures that I have seen, not even just recently, but from years ago with alleged other baby moms, and even when he was in a confessed relationship with the singer Tweet, they all have this in common. They are all darker skinned women. Giselle Bryant is not. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but what I'm saying is he clearly has a preference, and I don't believe that Giselle is it. And I believe that she knows that too. Now, it's possible that they could just be in an open relationship, because clearly Giselle she's somebody who looks for opportunities. To be on the Real Housewives of Potomac was an opportunity. For her to start this makeup line that's now not in, I guess, distribution or production, it was an opportunity that was based off of the opportunity she got being on the Real Housewives of Potomac. Now, Jamal Bryant having a bigger name, being at New Birth Missionary Baptist Church down in Atlanta, Georgia, having big names come to the church. T.I. has been there. Kanye West, of course, was the draw that brought him there. Kanye West, he's got that Kanye cash now, that huge donation that he gave to the church. That's been reported that he actually donated to another college institution. Not sure if that actually ever happened, but he had a bigger name, more money. It was more of an opportunity, I felt like, for Giselle, rather than her wanting to be in a relationship with him. Because Giselle honestly doesn't even seem like she wants to really be in a relationship. I felt like when she was dating that other guy, Sherman, she really did like him. And I guess he was well off as well. But when that didn't work out, I don't feel like she was really checking for anybody else. So it was just really convenient that they linked up together again. But the things that Tanya talked about and revealed, clearly she and Jamal have a lot in common, because I'll tell you, they both are long-winded. They both speak big words, speak long, and just explaining everything, and have analogies for almost everything that they talk about. Like, they clearly have a lot in common. So I could see why they have dated and, continue to be with each other back and forth over the past 8 years. But for this woman to just, I'm not saying every woman wants to be in a marriage either, so I don't know what she really wanted, but I don't know what she really expected of him, because if she couldn't see the pattern that he was pretty much a pastor player, then I don't really know what she expected. But I don't believe that she 100% felt like they were in a monogamous, committed relationship, because he clearly wasn't trying to settle down, especially being a pastor. But I don't know. I mean, she's talked about, the girlfriend that is, has talked about Jamal in this interview about him using grace as his get out of jail free card, but yet you were sleeping with him and you knew the type of man that he was. So I'm just saying, it just makes her look a little bit, like, I mean, I don't want to say like a stalker, but it just, and I am not rooting and cheering for Pastor Jamal Bryant either, but if you're like in a relationship with somebody, I don't know who just takes sneak pics of somebody laying in your bed and doing stuff like that, and then sending the information to Monique. Like, what was really in that for her besides the get back? I believe that it must have been something more. I don't believe that I don't believe that it was just to expose him, on TV just because of him, being a pastor, and she felt like he wasn't doing, the right thing, because again, she was sleeping with the man, and she's admitted that they were in a sexual relationship and they were both not married to each other. And now, it's got people kind of taking their focus off of, when it comes to the Real Housewives of Potomac, the fight that Monique had with Candace, and more so on Giselle and the relationship or the lack thereof between her and Jamal Bryant. Because again, we may have seen him twice in the entire season on the show in person, and then maybe once or twice on a FaceTime call. So honestly, I mean, most people already felt like their relationship wasn't real. So I don't know. It's just a lot. The woman has had, a few different interviews, and there will probably be more if this story continues to have, some steam attached to it. But I just, when you hear the information that's being exposed about Jamal, I mean, she's also exposing herself as well. And again, I am not rooting for or cheering for Jamal Bryant, because I feel like the life that he's living when it comes to his personal relationships, even though it's personal, it's become public, and it's just not a good look for somebody who is supposed to be a quote unquote man of God. And I don't believe that every pastor of a church lives this way. I really don't. I believe that there are a lot of good people who are championing the gospel, and they are really there for their parishioners of their church, and they're not living their lives in a way like this. These are just the people that we are being exposed to, that are in the public eye. A number of them have big names and big followings and are popular. And I believe a lot of that gets to them, like the John Grays and the Carl Lentzes, formerly of Hillsong Church. Like, it's just a lot. It really is. And I could go on and on continuing to talk about this, but listen to the interview if you haven't already done so. Let me know your thoughts about this back and forth situation between Jamal and this now, I guess, ex-girlfriend, because I believe that now that she's come out and exposed and shared all of this information, that they are 100% done at this point, even though they've seen each other off and on, she says, for the past 8 years. I guess that has come to a close, and they will no longer be sleeping in each other's beds. But you let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section. And guys, thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And until the next episode, I'm just being beautifully honest.